This is Robert Kraft, and I'm your host on SNN Network. And joining me right now is Grant Johnson. He is the founder, chairman, and CEO of Esports Entertainment Group. It's a publicly traded company. The symbol is GMBL on NASDAQ. Grant, thank you for joining me today. How you doing?
Robert, pleasure to be here. I'm doing well. Thank you.
Pleasure to have you. So, I'm sad to say this is the first time that we've had you on here, but I guess I'm also happy to say that it is our first time having you on here. So, as we always like to do as is tradition, the first time we do have a new company on the show, I'd love to get an overview and history of the company, and then we'll go from there.
Sure, I'll give you a very quick synopsis of how we came into being. I have to kind of go back all the way to the 90s. I was involved in the online gambling business back in the 90s at Genesis, one of the pioneers, you might say. I left the industry late 99, and in 2014, I was asked to work with some native tribes in Western Canada who are looking to set something up in the online gambling business, kind of like the Kanawagi outside of Montreal, where they would license and host online operators. And I started looking around what was new, what was fresh in the gambling space. And I had the good fortune to come across two people who are working with us, which is Alex Lim, who at the time was the Secretary General of the ISF, and Ken Silva, who was President of Esports Canada. And they said, listen, you got to come see an esports event to understand it. Because in 2014, it was very much a subculture. And I went and saw my first StarCraft event. And that was really the aha moment for me. Seeing 5,000, because I had a preconceived idea that esports was all children. And I couldn't have been more wrong. It was all 20-something-year-olds, and they were heavily engaged. It was a high level of energy, excitement. It was fresh. It was new. And I just knew in my gut it was going to be a huge industry. I went back to the natives, said, this is what you got to do. They passed, and I just couldn't let it go. It was just too good of an opportunity. That's when the company was born. We started out as gambling, but really didn't get our legs under us, financially speaking, until last April, which is when we got the uplisting on the NASDAQ under the symbol GMBL for gamble. And from that point to this point is when we started aggregating all the things you see behind us here, all the various operational entities. Most recently, and I haven't got my screen updated, is Lucky Dino, which we just closed Monday of this week, which brings substantial revenues and EBITDA, and is what allowed us to upgrade our forward-looking forecasts in 2022 to 70 million. So that's how we got here. It was quite a journey, a long one for me personally, but certainly not a boring one.
It doesn't sound like it. So what would you say then, because look, esports and gaming, let's be frank, it's exploding, right?
Yes.
And so and there's a number of different companies, from the picks and shovels companies to, with the infrastructure to having a bunch of teams now under their banner. What would you say makes esports, your company, unique and different compared to some of your peers out there?
We're very different, as you know. The things that make us most different, the obvious ones, being the first iGaming company to list on NASDAQ, even before DraftKings, that was a big piece. To be an esports focused company with tier 1 licenses. The other esports operators don't have the tier 1 licenses. They generally have Isle of Man or Alderney or licenses of that. So where you have Ireland, UK, Malta, and shortly New Jersey. That's unique. But really the approach of having a full vertically integrated solution. As you see these logos behind me, what they represent is an online esports gambling platform, an online esports tournament platform, which ties into land-based, which is Helix and GG Circuit, Helix being the physical facilities. The largest and probably most famous is at Patriot Place. And GG Circuit, which is the enterprise software that runs a land-based center. It also runs 1,000 other land-based esport land centers. And then having other unique software on there, such as the LandDuel and the Genji Analytics. So not only does that allow us the ability to run our own esports sites, it also allows us to have a turnkey solution or natural partner to the pro sports teams. You've seen a lot of announcements lately with the Eagles, the Ravens, the LA Kings, the Galaxy, Philly Union, where we formed a partnership with these teams to run tournaments for them. But those discussions will evolve into also having something similar like what's at Patriot Place, where you have an esports facility in a sports arena. That's groundbreaking. Nobody's ever done that before. So that's unique to us as well. In addition, because of the aggregate companies, we're also a natural partner for land-based casino operators who are all trying to figure out how do they get that esports crowd, the millennials, the Gen Zers, how do they get them into casinos? Because they're not getting them right now. And the answer is esports. So nobody else can bring that turnkey solution for them. So that's what makes us different, how we're positioning ourselves to play the long game, because esports is huge. It's still a very young industry though. But it's growing beyond everybody's imagination, frankly. That said, the profits are still on the come a little bit in esports. So we're also consolidating and acquiring profitable iGaming companies, not just because they bring in revenue, which is clearly, a primary consideration, but they bring us additional licenses which we can then market esports into. They bring us unique platforms, which add to our tech stack. And it brings us unique cross-marketing opportunities. Like Lucky Dino, they're very strong in the Nordics. So that's going to open up, the Finnish market to us and Northern Europe markets to market esports products. So wherever we gain those synergies as well as the licenses, that just makes it's a multiplier effect on top of just having the revenues. There's no other esports company that I'm aware of, certainly not in the Western world, that is planning on hitting 70 million in revenues in 2022. And we believe we're being very conservative at that.
Yeah, no, on that front, from what you can tell us, I mean, what would you say then are some of the company's value catalysts moving forward to help you get towards some of those numbers that you're expecting?
Well, those numbers really are the numbers of the acquired companies. So that number, that forecast isn't taking in the multiplier effect of being able to market sportsbook to the casino clients and esports product to the sports bet clients that want it, or bring in the Helix centers into the physical facilities of the sports arenas. So that 70 million is the revenue that's currently being generated by the entities that are acquired. That's already in the forecasts of what we expect. That's just 1 + 1 + 1. We're not adding any multiplier there. So the big drivers right now, Lucky Dino's the biggest, followed by Sport Nation, followed by GG Circuit, the GG Circuit Helix piece, followed by EGL. And that's what makes up that 70 million in that order. Once we start launching some of these initiatives with the large pro teams, those numbers we expect to be substantially enhanced, because right now it's 2/3 non-esports, 1/3 esports. We expect that formula to change probably in 2024, 2023, 2024 to esports will be the bigger part of the revenues at that time.
Sounds good. Well, Grant, with that, where can our audience go and find everything they need to know to follow along the esports story?
Esportsentertainmentgroup.com is our public site. Unfortunately, I can't point you at the gaming sites because until we get licenses in the various parts of the U.S., your U.S. followers will be unable to access the gambling sites. It's a regulatory thing. EGL is certainly, you can watch the tournament play, but to stay tuned to the corporate site. That's where all the news and all the developments, and as we continue to expand, that's where we'll make sure that all the current information is posted.
Very good. Well, Grant, thank you so much for joining me today. I really do appreciate it. Good luck, stay safe, and I look forward to our next update.
I look forward to it. Thanks, Robert.